Yo, what is up, Kings? I wanted to discuss the California wildfire situation that is going on. Let's play this really quickly from the Rageaholic. I do like some of his stuff. I don't agree with everything that he says. I do think at times he can be somewhat of a neocon in some aspects. But overall, he's not as bad as some boomer conservatives. So, you know, it could be worse. So I just want to play this little clip. We'll probably play a little bit more here momentarily.
You'll be shocked. And as we all subliminally applauded the hellscape that was Hollywood, the pseudo-conciliatory, but actually asshats inevitably chimed in with their white bread apologia. Oh, you oughtn't to delight in their dismay. It's time for red staters celebrating the destruction to look in the mirror. Even the film industry isn't inherently the problem. There's nothing inherently wrong with the filmic medium. Actually, I'd say it's more of a problem with the medium well. And I'll just be direct as a laser missile here, folks. And you asshats can feel free to dislike the video at whim. The only people who need to take a long look in the mirror right now are Californians themselves. Not the mayor, not the governor, not the damn dog catcher. These people were elected, re-elected, and even saved from recall as recently as 2021 to do exactly this. When Gavin Newsom was from the slave...
And then earlier in the video, he discusses how California used to be a spectacular state all the way up until, I would say, the 90s. Although it was starting to go downhill probably slightly before that. But just to be generous, let's say until the 90s. And he's talking about how he watches these kind of film noirs and these beautiful film sets that are in California. And, well, I'll just have him respond.
Was replaced with a theme park or a hobo camp at some indeterminate point in the night. Locations featured in each and every film, and yet as I researched said location online, it's a near certainty said building was replaced with a theme park or a hobo camp at some indeterminate point in the 1990s. If you want culture, eat some cottage cheese. If you want rent that's higher than Snoop Dogg and a standard of living lower than Biden's nuts, run, don't walk to Los Angeles. Not to save time.
Let's go. I mean, one thing I will say about Rageaholic, he is really witty in his dialogue. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who does it better as far as that goes. I could be wrong, but I think I remember hearing him say or somebody say that he was involved in acting at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is true, given how well, because make no mistake, these are scripts that he puts together, but it's probably stuff that he puts together himself, and it's very strong. So California, I could not agree more. Californians have voted for this bullshit time and time again. Now, there is something to be said about the fact that the state of California does continuously bring in illegals who also exacerbate the problem and make it nearly impossible for American citizens to reverse the problem, or people who have been living in America, mainly California, for a while. It's hard for them to recall the bad decisions as the state of California when they totally fuck over the citizens that live in California, and they've gotten tired of the people that they put into office, which I'll circle back to. They just bring in more. And eventually they have kids who are able to vote. And this is why illegal immigration, really immigration just in general, because it's far more, and I've done videos on this as far as the H-1B visa situation goes, it's far more than just, my jobs, they took my job. It's far more than that, okay? It's culture. It's bringing that culture, that mindset with them to America. That is the problem. And once it turns, it is almost impossible without some catastrophic event for it to go back to the way things were. And a lot of Californians have realized this, and they have left the state completely. Unfortunately, a lot of them bring their bullshit, non-critical thinking asses to the state of Texas. But, Texas voted pretty conservatively this last election. So we'll have to revisit that. But there are signs that show that Texas is also turning purple, or if not, has already turned purple, much like states like Georgia. So this is one of the top three, depending on who you are. I would say this and feminism are the two greatest fights in our lifetime that we have to get figured out. They just are, because everything reverberates off of these two issues. Every single problem that you could find in America and the West expounds from the foundation that is feminism and immigration. So on one hand, even if I want to be max charitable and say, well, the state of California has brought in a lot of immigrants who make it very difficult to revoke whatever has been put into place. At the same time, there's also a lot of Californian liberals, white liberals, who have voted for this shit too. And they cannot be taken off the hook as far as blame goes, because they initiated this bullshit. They initiated the process that has made it virtually impossible for California to go back to any semblance of normality and normalcy at all, okay? California is so fucking far gone, it's ridiculous. It is done, okay? The state is completely and inextricably altered and will be for the foreseeable future. So, Gavin Newsom allowing this shit to happen is not a surprise, okay? Because in the state of California, in the modern liberalism, although I would say liberalism in general does this, but in the modern form, the current form of liberalism, above all else, what they care about is optics and oppression Olympics. That is the number one thing that they care about. Now, me being a paleo-conservative, I honestly, the only pathway that I see towards being able to have California surge and return to its former glory is for it to completely fall. Okay? While I do believe that, I understand that not everybody believes that. And I almost kind of feel the same about much of the United States. This state, nonetheless, used to be amazing and still does have a lot of amazing aspects to it. A lot of great natural resources, beautiful sites, on and on and on. But the number one thing that the politicians in this state care for, that the people, the citizens in this state have voted for, is racial, oppressive, Olympic type politics, where it's all of this faux, fake, propagandized, for show bullshit that doesn't make any difference, that doesn't actually make the lives of the citizens that live in California any better, whether it be less taxes, whatever programs they go for or don't go for. Nothing they do actually helps the citizens here. In fact, the money that should be going to programs that actually make quality of life better actively go towards bullshit programs that are either LGBTQ plus promoted or, because California, LA just had its first LGBTQ plus female chief for the fire department. I don't know if you saw that. And this is an example of the type of shit that they care about, rather than putting that money, putting the attention towards things that actually make a difference. So when you see something like these wildfires where California has purposely gotten rid of the water that it, or the process in which they can actually get rid, or not get rid of, but prevent these forest fires, it's like, of course this shit happens. Is it really surprising? I'm not surprised. Now, of course, I don't want anybody to lose their life. I don't want anybody to lose their homes or anything like that. But there is something to be said, guys, about consequences being the best teacher. I mean, honestly, Is this what it takes for these people to actually start changing their worldview and actually being smarter and more intelligent about who they put into office? Time will tell. Time will tell. But it is absolutely hilarious to see Gavin Newsom totally getting wrecked all the way around about this. Let's listen a bit more of what Rageaholic said, because I really do like his video on this.
Because otherwise you'll be shot. And as we all subliminally applauded the hellscape that was Hollywood, the pseudo-conciliatory, but actually asshats inevitably chimed in with their white bread apologia. Oh, you oughtn't to delight in their dismay. It's time for red staters celebrating the destruction to look in the mirror. Even the film industry isn't inherently the problem. There's nothing inherently wrong with the filmic medium. Actually, I'd say it's more of a problem with the medium well. And I'll just be direct as a laser missile here, folks. And you asshats can feel free to dislike the video at whim. The only people who need to take a long look in the mirror right now,
I'm going to give it a like.
Californians themselves. Not the mayor, not the governor, not the damn...
Yeah, California.
The only people who need to take a long
voted
look in the mirror right now are Californian...
58.5% for Kamala Harris compared to 38.3% for Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump still got 6 million votes compared to Kamala Harris's 9 million. And make no mistake, the state of California, much like a lot of liberal states, has a large portion of the state that is conservative, just not the most populated places.
Themselves, not the mayor, not the governor, not the damn dog catcher. These people were elected, re-elected, and even saved from recall as recently as 2021 to do exactly this. When Gavin Newsom was plucked from the slavering maw of unemployment in 2021, he already had over 100 active lawsuits against the Trump administration, including to uphold the environmental regulations that led to the lack of water to fight this fire. It was easier for you lead paint pounding Uber imbeciles to entertain the fiction that Larry Elder was the black face of white supremacy,
right,
than to confront the consequences of your own clannish idiocy. And before anyone claps back with, what about the conservative Californians? First off, try looking up the numbers. Pacific Palisades is in or around 80% died in the dog shit Democrats. And as for the remaining 20%, what about them? The founding fathers, who many of you purport to enshrine and eagerly invoke when arguing for constitutional protections for your firearms and First Amendment rights, both of which are openly curtailed in Cominternfornia, by the way, tend to ignore one of the most consistently espoused values of SAME, the concept of voting with your feet. The founders were no utopians, people. They were a rabble of realists, all too aware that no one state would be a one-size-fits-all endeavor. And as such, every founder from...
So, just to close this out, I don't know that I completely agree with that. I do think that there's something to be said about staying and fighting for the society that you want. But, at some point, it's gone too far, and whatever battle there is to be fought is just so insurmountable, where you have to just start thinking about your family, your own well-being, and go elsewhere. And I do agree with the premise that you can, in essence, vote with your feet by moving elsewhere and contributing to that economy. So, but again, you can also be a part and continue battling for the society that you want. And far too often do conservatives bow out and leave instead of fighting and persevering. But as far as this video goes, I agree with a majority of what he has to say. Like I said, I like his video. And California, I mean, in a lot of ways, they brought this on themselves. You'll see very few people say that, including a lot of conservatives. But sometimes consequences are a bitch, and sometimes consequences are the best instructor for how to proceed in the future. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy with low facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. I love you, King. See you guys next time. Christ is King. Peace.